What are you gonna do? Where are you gonna ride? Are you gonna ride the second ride on the merry-go-round?
Nope.
Yeah, you are.
No, I'm not.
What are you gonna ride?
The first round.
The first ride? How you get to do that? You special?
I'm not. I get to push the way back.
We all want photos. Okay, 1, 2, 3, cheese.
Cheese.
1, 2, 3, cheese.
Cheese. Ow!
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Look this way.
Hi, Janie.
History.
Right?
Helen.
Oh, that's the way to do it.
Say Janie, say cheese.
1, 2, 3, cheese.
This way, Janie.
Oh, that is adorable.
Here, and then we opened up the crates.
That was how long ago was that?
It was in 2002.
That's when they donated. It was 2002.
Yeah, that's the year my cousin died. My cousin was the president of the company. I was the executive vice president. So we had a great time putting it together, and then
How long did it take you?
well, it took us a couple of weeks.
Yeah, little at a
Before
time.
that, this was a pond.
Oh, I remember feeding the fish to the sea lion. Yeah.
Yes. Hi, Jason. Beautiful. What a pleasure.
I love your write-up. It was amazing.
Thank you very much. I love the story.
Art director,
And you did what?
and I painted the carousel.
and designed it. I'm Cindy, I'm the development director, and I raised money to help make this happen and connected us with Rust-Oleum.
You're last.
I'm Will, part of the Lake Merritt Breakfast Club crew that put this thing together.
And I'm CJ Hirschfield, executive director of Fairyland, and I wrote about this amazing story.
Who's this guy?
Hi, I'm a great-great-grandfather from Flecto.
And here comes the train behind you. So we just let the train go by. We're good to go.
Oh, perfect.
All right, thanks guys. That was awesome.
Today we have the president of our board, Teresa Nelson, with us, and Jamie Flaherty Evans over here, who's also on our board of directors. So thank you for all you do. So again, there are a lot of players here, but our special, very special guest of the day, the Vetterly family. Now, again, I had the privilege of writing a couple of stories because it's so unbelievable to me how this all came together. So bear with me for just a second. When I came to Fairyland 14 years ago, the Flecto carousel, which is what we called it then, had just been installed maybe a year or two before. And I heard this story. This used to be where the seals were. And people who grew up in Oakland know that this is where the sea lions were. And over there was the fish shack where you used to buy your fish and feed it to the lions. Well, they became too loud, apparently. So the neighbors in apartments said, enough with the sea lions. So the sea lions went away. And then we're wondering, Fairyland was wondering what to do with this incredible real estate. Well, now here's the part of the story that I never understood, and that was that the Lake Merritt Breakfast Club, which actually is this benevolent association that still exists, and we still meet every Thursday morning at 7 o'clock right across the street. They actually created Fairyland 66 years ago and donated Fairyland to the city. So it's a real wonderful long-time relationship. Well, what I understood is that the Lake Merritt Breakfast Club had the Flecto Paint Company donated crates that contained this wonderful carousel. And we've got Will Klassen here, who was part of that team, because they took it out of crates and figured out how to assemble it. Bob Rosen, who's not here, apparently helped lay the concrete slab upon which it could rest and operate. So here are these guys figuring out not just coming over here weekend after weekend to try and figure out how to put it all together, which they did. So, again, big question mark. Where did the Flecto carousel come from, and how did it happen? Well, now this is the other part of the story. The Flecto carousel, which is beloved by kids, as you can imagine, I figure over 1 million kids over the last 15, 16 years have enjoyed this carousel. Think about that for a minute. Well, just like the Velveteen Rabbit, when you get loved so much, sometimes you just, the paint starts coming off. And that's what happened. So we on Team Fairyland looked around and said, we gotta repaint this thing, it's gotta be beautiful. But it was a huge undertaking. So Cindy Sandoval, made it all happen. She's my amazing director of development. And we said, well, why don't we just call the Flecto Paint Company? So we tried that, and Flecto has been kind of absorbed by Rust-Oleum, and the parent company is, So Cindy, not to be deterred, sent an email to the general mailbox of Rust-Oleum and immediately got a response from the corporate headquarters. And they said, we want to have a conference call with you. And we said, great. So on that conference call, I will never forget, it was very funny, because they said, well, we have members of our team here, and we have, what's his name?
Chris Cargo.
Chris Cargo, what a great name, by the way. Chris Cargo's on the call, and he consults with Disneyland about their carousel. You should have seen our faces in our little conference room. It was like, what? So Chris got on a plane, and he came to Fairyland, and he looked over the carousel, and they then ended up advising, where's Shannon? We have a art and restoration team that is 2 people, and Shannon runs it, and so she worked very closely with their team, and can we just say, this is the result, it's beautiful. But we still didn't know, how did this happen? How did this carousel come to Flecto in the first place? Well, that's when I actually wrote a column, which ended up as a blog, about that first part of the story. And then the Vetterli family saw that because Rust-Oleum ran it, I guess, in their newsletter, which I just found out today. And so that's how the Vetterli family came to know whatever happened to this carousel. And Ken Vetterli, we are so happy to have you here because you're the person who bought this thing years ago in 1974. This carousel was created in 1950, wait for it, the same year Fairyland was open. So in 1974, Mr. Vetterli purchased this for the Flecto Paint Company, and what we had understood at Fairyland is that it was never used for kids, it was instead used to demonstrate the high quality of the Flecto paint at conventions around the country. So we connected the dots, and how happy we are. What are the odds? First of all, Ken lives in Southern California, but his family, members of the family, still are up here in the Bay Area, and his great-great-granddaughter, right over here, has been on our carousel, and I hope has enjoyed it, and hope she does today again. So I've written a column for, unbelievably enough, 10 years this June, a weekly column, because there's so many stories that around Fairyland and how things happen. And this is not atypical. We find that people come together and make it happen. Well, the final missing link was we still needed to fund this. And we still needed to figure out how we could make it all happen and bring back what you see here. And I want to acknowledge a couple of people who played a very key role in that. Teresa Nelson and her family. So thank you. And where is Helen? Helen Marsevich, who is a fairy godmother. If you've never seen one up close and personal, that would be Helen. So we did do a campaign. And so with that said, what I'd like to do is call up the family. Ken, Carol, Ken and his wife Carol are going, I understand, celebrating their 65th wedding anniversary this summer. Is that correct? Come on. God bless you for that. Come on over, and you and Carol and Janie, because I think we need someone who's able to ride it.
Janie is getting a little shy now.
Okay, you want to start up?
Come on, honey.
I think if Janie wants to do it, that's okay. We understand kids here. Okay.
Okay, we'll watch it on
That's okay.
Then we'll go right, okay?
Okay, yeah, you can go on the first ride. So again, thank you all for supporting a little nonprofit park, which welcomes over 200,000 people a year. We couldn't do it without you.
Okay. This is like cutting the wedding cake. Okay, so do it. Okay, go. I'll hold it. Got it.
That's a team. Thank you all for being here. We really appreciate you.
I think we need to get some
Janie's
kids
gonna
on
ride
here.
the
Horse is riding a horse?
Hold on tight. Here we go.
Chocolate and vanilla.
Can you wave? Yeah?